What's up, nerds? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking all about kayak anchors. So if you've ever wondered what is a good option for anchor, we feel we have a fairly unique one that we use because we get questions asked about it absolutely all the time. There are many different anchors on the market, and we want to show you one specifically that we like that could be rigged multiple directions on your kayak. So let's take a look at it in this video. Okay, so we're going to show you guys our Anchor Wizard setup on a Crescent Trolley. You can set up an Anchor Wizard on any kayak, and also our type of anchor, or our anchor of choice here, being a chain, a drag chain. Now you can run those things straight up like this, no cover, or you can throw a cover on it. Honestly, this is extra work that isn't really that necessary. I did it just to see, because we like to basically alternate, like, you try that, I'll try this, we'll see what we like better.
Which one?
This is simpler and easier.
And which one stinks more?
Those retain water right there. Those just, they take on water, they get smelly. The cool thing about this that you'll notice is that we have, say, 2 chains here.
How many chains?
2 chains. 2 chains here, but we can like swap that out. We can downsize it, we can upsize it on a heavier river. You can have half links, you could have full links. It's pretty crazy. So very customizable. And the reason we're talking about it stinks is you bring the extra chains with you, and when they sit in a little container and they're made of that material for months and months and maybe years, they smell really bad.
I've never had anything get stuck in here that couldn't get unstuck. That's all I'll say about it. I've never had a problem. And these also won't, I mean, the idea that they'll rust, like I know that Jeff has a little bit on his, we did ours at the same time, mine have never rusted. So for what it's worth, I like without. Our
recommendation is those are made with bike tire tubes. So I mean, honestly, if you ran this and you did run into trouble, like, you can just cut the anchor line. Worst case scenario, we've never run into that, never. So we would recommend don't cover them, just go straight normal chains.
So before we do
this is just galvanized chain that you can grab at any hardware store. Just go pick up a couple links, right? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
But there's
like 9 to 10 links would be a full.
But there's
length.
a ton of different gauges of chain. So the way I did it, I basically went through and was like, how much is 1 pound? I wanted 1 pound increments. A lighter kayak like this, or even a heavier kayak, you don't need any more than 3 pounds to be like the max that you're typically gonna need, which is why I basically did in 1 pound increments. Now this one is like a little over ½ pound. So you can see this is a little bit thinner, slightly thinner than this one. So the idea is, I like to have 1 ½ pound and then 3 1 pounders. That combo is gonna give me everything I need for any kind of river trip. I also started using these on the lake. A lot of guys just see with that little claw shape, like standard kayak anchor. Those typically weigh 1.5 to 2.5 pounds, typically. All you gotta do,
it's called a grapnel anchor.
Yeah.
Because it's grabbing.
A claw.
It's a claw. It opens up, right? And it can grab onto the bottom of the lake, right? So the chains, they drag. However,
if they're heavy enough, you can pretty much just stay where you need to stay. Now, if you like that, and you want to even switch back and forth, all you have to do is untie this knot and retie it. Not a huge deal. Or you can put a clevis on here, and you can just unscrew it and swap out as needed. That's up to you.
What kind of knot are we using? Is it a hitch? Anchor knot?
Is it a hitch knot?
I use an anchor knot.
I think I'm using an anchor knot. It's
super simple.
It's
double
2 loops
through
inside, and then I do a safety knot on the top, which is just an overhand knot on the top.
So real quick, run through that.
So I loop it around twice. The tag end goes through your 2 loops up the top, and I tie this little safety knot right here so that it bumps up against it. It's simple.
Essentially a super safe anchor knot.
It's an anchor knot. It's really easy. So let's walk through how the Anchor Wizard works. So this is the Anchor Wizard. It's basically, not basically, it's just a little winch here. And all you gotta do is when you loosen it, it drops. When you tighten it, it's tight. And if you keep cranking, it goes up. It's as simple as that. So as you loosen it up, the weight is gonna drop it. And then as you tighten it up, it comes back up. And then this is where it's taut, so it's not pulling out. It's really simple. It keeps the weight at the back or the front of your boat. They have a chute for the front. A lot of folks like that for the river.
So a real quick note on anchor orientation is that it just depends on where you want to have your castability. So if I'm in the river, a rear drag chain, if rigged light enough, allows you to slow your drift down river. Now you are going with the current at that point, so you're giving yourself a couple extra casts at individual spots, which is nice. If it's heavy enough, you can stop, you can pull up on a spot, You can park it, and you can fish under a tree all day. And that is like how I typically get my biggest fish of the day, because I need to take my time.
But that's why you want to get the weight dialed for the current that you're fishing in.
So if I get on the river, we're going downstream, I drop my anchor and I'm speed drifting, I don't have enough weight. I can just add weight to it, keep it super simple. Now the benefit to running the anchor out the front is that if I'm still, say, going with the current, I can turn my boat orientation around, and now I can cast upstream, above the current, which is nice.
And so I'm casting past the fish, drifting the bait towards it. That's where your problem, that's like the most ideal casting situation for river fishing. So that is really nice for the front.
And you could get 2 anchor wizards and rig both ways, if you wanted to.
If you're that guy. I am not that guy.
Pal.
Now the other thing we should talk about.
Yeah, this is cool.
Guiding the line is super important. So the Crescent Trolley had these built in. You can see there's like this is mold. These metal eyelets are molded in, and that's where the line is getting guided right to where it should be.
And we have this nice channel back here too, making it super easy for this to just slide down, right? What I do find with the Trolley, for example, is if you crank it up too high, okay, you might have an issue. So you have to kind of take the line up by your seat and just push it back. But
just
not a huge
stop it
issue.
Right there.
Yep.
You're fine.
You'll feel resistance, so as soon as you feel that resistance, you know you're good. You just stop.
Now what I'm doing, what we did on our Hobies, what I'm going to be doing on my Crescent Light Tackle 2 build is it doesn't have this channel, which is not great, but it's just a different boat. I'm actually going to put a pulley right here.
Yep.
And that pulley is just a wheel. So I'm going to I'm going to have this in the same spot. I'm going to have line guides identical to this one basically, except the line, instead of going up here, is going to come right here to a pulley and go down. So that means when I crank it up and the chain comes up, the pulley just guides it so it's right back here. And when I drop it, it's lubed up and the wheel is going to drop it straight down. It's really, really simple. Those pulleys are like 15, 20 bucks for a pair. They're not expensive and they don't take up a lot of real estate or weight. So you get basically the same setup with the pulley, good to go.
And typically, if you guys are looking for these pulleys, just look up cheap anchor trolleys and you can find them. The pulleys are a wheel with a little it's basically a little bracket that has a wheel on one end and 2 bolts that go through it. It's the rear part or the front part of an anchor trolley system, which allows you to take your anchor, standard anchors, and slide that up to the front of the boat or to the back of the boat. It's like a movable anchor, so you can reposition.
So the pulley looks like this.
Wow, look at it.
Look at that pulley.
It's super neat.
So Jeff's talking about the anchor trolley. It's a pulley on one side here, a pulley on the other side, and a line that goes in an oval between them. And so you actually, in the middle, in the middle, you have to like pull the line, and then on the lower part of that big circle, your anchor point comes this way. So there's a little clip with your anchor on it, and you can move it wherever you want. That's like what most people do. I personally found that I always left it in the rear, like every single time, because what's happening is the current would push me to one direction, or the wind would, and I want to cast with the wind blowing at my back, so that when I'm casting, I'm getting the best cast, I'm casting into the wind. It was so incredibly rare that I had the anchor point in the front or ever in the middle, because if it's in the middle, the current's just bowling it out, and there's just huge amount of stress on the line. I never used it. Now a lot of guys might, that's great for you. I never did. This was so much better, cleaner, simple, and it kept a bunch of line out of the way of my boat. So I like this pulley setup, or this type of anchor wizard setup, way more than the pulley system. That, again, this is my opinion, man.
So, real quick, because I know somebody's gonna say it in the comments, here's a couple super cheap anchor options. If you weren't in the market for an anchor wizard, running about 100 bucks if you get just this piece, 120 if you get that piece with the front cannon dropping thing. What do you call that?
The chute.
The winch? Whatever.
The chute.
The chute. Without the chute, it's 100 bucks. With the chute, 120 bucks. It comes with the line. It's ready to go. You need a carabiner, a couple of bucks. You need chain, a couple of bucks.
Everything galvanized.
This part,
stainless steel or galvanized are the only options. Stainless steel, galvanized chain. That means they won't rust. This is 2 years old, no problem.
Beautiful. So some cheap options that a lot of guys will go with on a kayak, especially, you know, if they are not like in a tournament. If they're just out there having fun, we'd recommend you try these. You get a super cheap dumbbell, which up until a couple of years ago were super cheap, and then weight prices skyrocketed. So that became not so cheap. They make cannonball anchors. They make grapnel anchors, usually very inexpensive on Amazon.
You can use a rock if you so choose.
You can literally wrap up a rock.
But like really the chain is not expensive. I like the chain because it does both, and I no longer use a pre-store bought grapnel anchor. I have one. Haven't used it in years. So,
but the part where you can save money, if you want to go for the economic anchor, is by skipping the anchor wizard, and you just go with those little like wrap up. You know what I'm talking about? What would you call that? A winder?
Basically, yeah, 2 sticks, and there's like a flat piece of plastic, and you just wrap your line around that.
Does it look like this?
It looks just like this. I will say, I use just a random piece of wood, and I just wrap my line around the wood. I did that for like 3 or 4 years. I just got rid of that kayak. I used it for years, never had a problem. And you just stick it right here on the side, done.
I did it for 2 years. I wasn't the biggest fan of winding it up, unwinding it, blah, blah. You do need a cleat.
It would have to go right here.
With a grip, so you would like stick it in there.
This is gonna get hammered.
This would not work.
This is what a clip would look like.
A cleat.
Right? This is what a cleat would look like. This thing. These are inexpensive, and you just put it right there, and you just wrap your line around it like a boat line. It's not a bit, it's easy.
So there's a whole bunch of options for your anchors. We highly recommend, having used basically all of these, that you just go with this route right here. The drag chain with the anchor wizard. It's freaking beautiful. All in cost, if we just went with the winch, because we never used the chute, but let's say you could use this with or without the chute, it's plus minus 20 bucks. Your overall cost is like 110. So one quick caveat that Paul wanted to point out here is the mounting option. So the anchor wizard is just this piece right here, right? The plastic part, okay? You get bolts. It does come with track mounts. So the nice thing would be if you can mount it to your track.
A Yak Attack track.
This is just really far away from our seat, so we didn't want to do that.
I like it by my hip. I like it right here. If I can get it right here, right behind my hip, this is the next best thing.
So you may need a universal mounting bracket. There's a whole bunch on the market. We used one for our Hobie. Yak Attack makes one. Anchor Wizard also makes one for specific models of kayaks. This is the one for the Crescent Trolley.
Wonderful. 30 bucks.
Yeah, it's steel. It's
look at that.
Super sturdy. 30 bucks. Insane. So if you guys are on the market for some anchors for your kayaks, hopefully this video was helpful for you. We're gonna go use our anchors right now because we're gonna go fish that water right there, I think. Or maybe that one.
Or maybe that. Or both.
Or both. All right, so we got to get going on that. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you liked it, subscribe for more, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye.